Oh man, boxing is making a huge comeback. I'm so happy for you guys. I mean, it never went away, but because of MMA and everything, people are starting to pay attention to boxing again, which I'm really excited for.
Yes, yes, that's a reality, and there are many things to be done, and it's a great sport, and I'm sure there are great years to come.
Yeah. Like PBC just teamed up with Bellator MMA, and they're going to do two back-to-back shows over here in Anaheim.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So Friday is going to be MMA, and Saturday is going to be boxing.
That is very good.
Yeah. The state of boxing itself, especially with the Olympics going on, and we have a couple of contenders. How do you think that the Olympic boxing style has helped them transition to the professional ranks now? Because they're no longer really point sparring in the Olympics; they're actually going for knockouts.
Well, it's a situation that had to happen at one point because Olympic boxing went to the lowest level with many mistakes done by the authorities that handle Olympic competition. The point system was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
The computerized system was completely a failure, and to see the competition as it's now, it's back to what it used to be, back to basics.
Yeah.
There are many concerns about what AIBA is doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's more interest in these Rio Games than in the past 3 or 4 Olympics in boxing, which is a very good sign.
Oh yeah, I've been recording everything.
Yes.
Boxing, taekwondo, judo, and wrestling are the ones that I've been recording the most, or at least set to record.
Yes, boxing has always existed. It's a great sport. It has survived crisis. It has survived scandals. But the reality is that it's a sport that can give one nation a hero that keeps moving the society. For example, Carl Frampton,
mm-hmm.
he has captured Ireland back from the days of the cyclone, and Gennady Golovkin, Kazakhstan, and many others, Chocolatito, Nicaragua. So it's a sport that really brings the best out of people. It's followed by everybody in the country, by the poor, by the middle class, by the high class, even by the presidents of a country. So there's a lot of things that are of great benefit for society that come from boxing.
Right. And now with Beyond Sport United, boxing is a perfect fit because we have all these international fighters and all these different styles. Like, how they say there's a Mexican style of fighting, there's a Cuban style, there's a European style, an English style. So all of this mixes and we get to see the best of the entire world and their styles brought into one ring.
Exactly, and I'm just thrilled to partner with Beyond Sports. I believe in what they're doing and how they promote fair play, they promote inclusion, they promote justice. And it just goes right and fits into what the WBC has always done. We had inspiration from Muhammad Ali battle against abuse of power, against discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
The WBC has taken such actions since our beginning. It's our core values. My father experienced discrimination when he was a kid by taking the bus, the Greyhound bus, all the way up to New England, and he could see the discrimination that existed. And then with all happening with Ali and the movement, that shaped the WBC's position. And the WBC in 1975 expelled South Africa from boxing, and joined the battle against apartheid, which eventually, when Mandela was released from prison, he opened the WBC convention in Johannesburg.
Beautiful.
So that is a really great example of how inclusion works to fight exclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived it through, and we have zero tolerance for discrimination. we have absolute determination to fight abuse of power. So boxing is a great bridge that can join countries, can join religions, can join nationalities, cultures. Just in one ring, when the bell rings, that's it. It's two guys trying to become somebody in life and to fight for their neighborhood, for the family, for the country.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense, and I'm glad to hear that the WBC has been ahead of the game for the past 41 years.
Exactly. We have a couple of great priorities right now. We are fighting very strong to give women's boxing their due respect and their due opportunities.
Right.
And this year will be a breakthrough because finally they will make it to television in the USA. After Laila Lee.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying it's taken a while, you're right.
Yeah. There was a time with Laila Lee, then with Christy Martin and Mia St. John. But for some reason, they do not get the opportunity. We have had 2 female boxing conventions. They were very successful. And we see promoters in the USA, a couple of them working hard to get female boxers an opportunity. Ludivela, K2 Promotions, and many other promoters that are building bridges also for women. And it's just one of our priorities, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very soon that we'll be seeing women feature in television, feature in pay-per-view cards, and it's just a fact that we are thrilled about it.
And you guys already are making a belt for the women in the WBC?
Yes, since 2004, we have the female division. We have had great champions. There's great activity in Mexico, Japan, some countries in Europe, South America, Canada. But now it's just the big market, which is the USA. That's the goal right now.
Why do you think it took so long for America to catch up? Because, I mean, I watch a lot of kickboxing as well and Muay Thai, and then there was, originally there was Gina Carano and then Tiffany Van Soest, and these women, when they go and they kickbox, they're more dangerous than the men sometimes. They just leave it in the ring. And I've seen women box and do the same thing. Why did it take American audiences so long to catch up to Mexico and Japan with that?
Well, it's not the audience, it's the promoters and the television executives. It has taken them time to understand that female boxing, women's boxing is a reality. If you watch a fight, the action is tremendous. It's 2-minute rounds, and women really go out and perform. The problem is promoters got used to only fill television dates. They forgot about promoting events, promoting fighters, making popularity or popular fighters to bring excitement. Just filling television dates, go from one city to the other, do administrative work, not care to sell tickets. And that's what needs to be done. Go back to basics and promote events, make celebrities out of the athletes. And I think female boxing will be a great new way to bring excitement to boxing as a whole.
Right. Are there any females that stand out in your mind right now that we should pay close attention to?
Of course, there's a Canadian female fighter, Jelena Medrovich. There's another girl. I'm sorry, I just forgot her name. I was with her yesterday.
Okay.
She's a middleweight. I will send you a couple of names, but certainly in Mexico we have 5 champions right now, champions. In the USA, there's great fighters. Ava Knight, Serrano. It's just a matter of giving them the opportunity.
Right. Well, hopefully they get it soon, because Like I said, the women fighters and as you mentioned, the women fighters put it all out on the line in the ring.
They do, and they're always in shape. They always make the weight. They always have their medicals ready. They work. They're dedicated, and they're just hungry. They don't care about the money. They just want the attention. They want to be able to show their pride inside the ring, and it's gonna happen. It's coming.
Good. That's what we can hope for. And Ronda Rousey did it for MMA, and Tiffany Van Sust has done it for Muay Thai, and now hopefully these ladies will do it for boxing.
Well, that's a perfect example. The UFC, which is a huge corporation, had a woman to be their leader for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey was their main star over any other athlete. And it just gives you a perfect example of what sports can do.
Mm-hmm.
And in tennis, the Williams brothers, in golf, you have great athletes. So boxing will have that their time.
Well, that's what we can hope for. Now, have you been watching the Olympics as well besides boxing?
I have a little bit limited because I've been traveling a lot.
Right.
I saw the Phelps triumph, which was very emotional yesterday.
Yeah.
I've seen a few rugby games, which are very impressive.
Yeah.
Female rugby players, tennis. I think, the Olympics are, for me, a concern because they have lost the drive for sports and has been more focused on the commercial side.
Mm-hmm.
It creates a tremendous burden for the host country.
Right.
And in order to comply with so many commitments that they have to comply with, some sports are sacrificing the sports side, the athlete side.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in boxing, this year, for these Olympic Games, AIBA tried to get professionals to fight in the Olympics.
Uh-huh.
And there was a world movement against that because that was so unfair. They were saying that Manny Pacquiao, that Vladimir Klitschko, that Amir Khan were going to fight in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody opposed to that, especially the fighters.
Right.
How can you have a world champion who has matured, who has ring experience, and the body is completely different, fighting against a kid who just made it through a process to qualify to the Olympics?
Right.
So only 3 professionals went to Rio, and of mid-level, not really. We were very concerned about the safety of a fighter,
right? Because
it's a different sport. Amateur boxing and professional boxing is different,
right?
But taking the hit gear out is also something of concern because it will interrupt the competition schedule. There have been cuts, so fighters who should be continuing on to win a medal might be out of the competition.
Right.
So it's a but the problem, what I was trying to refer to, is all those changes are oriented for commercial purposes,
right?
Instead of looking for the spectacle and to make the sport better and safer for the athletes.
Right.
To watch NBA superstars or to watch soccer teams go out, or the tennis players. I mean, you have all year around major tournaments for the fans to follow those. The Olympics should stick to the great athletes that are young, that have dreams, that try and work hard for so many years to represent the country. But we cannot leave aside the financial situation and how the world is so commercially oriented.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the professionals in boxing and the physiology being different. With the NBA players in the Olympic basketball, it's completely different because no one's getting punched in the face, no one's getting hit as hard as they could. So,
you don't play boxing,
right?
You just made a great point. China got an embarrassing lose against the USA.
Mm-hmm.
They will go home embarrassed, but they will go home healthy. They're not going home in a stretcher.
Right.
In boxing, you can seriously hurt a fighter when you see in the ring a huge difference in quality and level of position. So that is our main concern, and we will battle against that as long as we can.
Right. Now, with with everything going forward, and pushing for inclusion and everything else, there's been questions of transgender fighters. In MMA, there's a fighter named Fallon Fox who was born a man, was in the Marines, and then eventually became a woman and is now fighting women. And with boxing, I don't know if there are any transgender fighters right now, but is that something of concern for the future, for the safety of the female fighters, for someone that used to be a man and now became a woman?
Absolutely. Unless there is scientific and medical proof, the WBC will never endorse or allow a transgender competition. Mm-hmm. Because whether you were a man turned into a woman or you were a woman turned into a man, the medical data that we have from research is that the physical structure of a man and a woman are different. Mm-hmm. Women are 80% more susceptible to have a concussion.
Right.
And that is physically. That is because of something that has to do on the neck. Mm-hmm. So that's why the boxing rules are different in women than men. Okay. 10 rounds instead of 12, and 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes.
Makes sense.
So we would never allow a fight to go on, because if you were a man, you are a man physically.
Yeah.
And you cannot fight against a woman.
Right.
If you were a woman turned into a man, you're a woman, and if you fight a man, you will have a tremendous disadvantage. Mm-hmm. So it has nothing to do with sex.
Right.
It has only to do with the medical side, mm-hmm, of the protection of the human being.
See, that's what I like to hear, and I'm interested in hearing that, because there are people that sit there and say, well, they should be allowed to fight because so and so was a woman that became a man and plays tennis, or a man that became a woman and plays soccer. And like we said before, you don't play boxing. You get hit in the face for real.
Exactly, and that's so dangerous.
Yeah. So
we will absolutely continue to do research. Mm-hmm. We work diligently with UCLA to always do studies which have given the foundations for the changes in the rules.
Right.
Championship fights were for 15 rounds. Yeah. We changed them to 12. Mm-hmm. Basically because it was determined that after the 36 minutes of competition, the dehydration level mixed with exhaustion, mm-hmm, creates a very dangerous scenario for a fighter to get punched.
Right.
Hit. So we changed the day of the weigh-in. Before they used to weigh in the same day of the fight.
Right.
Now they weigh in one day before so they can rehydrate and get their body in shape to be in competition. Mm-hmm. And so we base everything on the medical studies.
Beautiful.
And we are diligently looking on how to make changes in the sport for the better. We are using instant replay, for example.
Right.
And it's just one other thing I wanted to discuss is we have a program with the Pope Francis.
Oh wow! Okay.
From the Scholas Foundation, mm-hmm, and it is named. They started a program which is called Footval. Mm-hmm. Now we have Boxval, boxing with values, and it's a program around the world to reach children, regardless of the religion, culture, financial background. We just reach out and try to use boxing as a medium to get them education and culture and opportunities to change the world, because it is a fact that we're living under tremendous anxiety, the violence and the threats that constantly make us nervous of what is going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
The only way to get over that is to be active, to be in sports, to be in school, to be doing some sort of art. And we are very much committed to the actions of Scholas and the Pope. And the key is that it has no religion attachment.
Right.
So it's a thing that we do worldwide, and we're very, very happy with it.
Well, I'm excited to hear that, because the Japanese used to say it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people have forgotten that, and they say, oh, no, you shouldn't be violent, you shouldn't be violent. But it's better to know to be violent and not be violent than to be violent and not know how to defend yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the art of boxing is the art of self-defense.
Yeah.
You protect yourself, and we are for clean boxing. We are for fair play, and if you have a competition and there are rules and you stand up by those rules and principles, then you make a good thing out of it.
Right.
And if everything would follow those rules in life, it would be a different world. But we just can't do whatever we can do at the moment.
Right. I have one personal question, just because it always comes up. Never leave the fight in the hands of the judges. And the judging system is still the same way it was 100 years ago, where you have the judges sitting around the ring and scoring the fight. Would it not be better at this time to actually give them a monitor like the color commentators to see exactly what's happening, so they don't miss anything from the angle that they're seated at?
Officiating will always be controversial,
right,
in any sport. But in boxing, it's always under the microscope. The system has been changing, and it was changed in the last 40 years, but then it got stuck. Before, there was a referee who would score the fight,
right,
and he was the sole arbiter. He would, if there was a decision, he would determine who won.
Right.
Then there was a scoring referee and 2 judges. Then eventually just came up to the 10-point most system with 3 judges.
Right.
The problem comes on who is scoring that fight.
Right.
If you do not appoint people that are prepared, that are trained, that are neutral, from neutral nationality, then that's when the bad decisions come. We are working right now on a new enhanced 10-point most system. And we have, you cannot judge by a monitor, because a monitor only gives you what that angle from television you can see, but you don't see other things. So, but we're experimenting higher chairs at the level of the rope, but then you will be blocking the fans from the action. We are experimenting with noise canceling headphones, so the judges are not influenced by the big crowds, noisy crowds, that when you are in a hometown, most likely you're going to go that way.
Right.
We saw a fight in D.C. It was a majority draw. The judge who gave it to Badu Jack was sitting right in front of Floyd Mayweather and his whole team. The other judge who gave it a draw was sitting in front of the Lucian Bute promoters and team. And the other judge who also gave it a draw was sitting in front of the Canadian fans. So that it could be a coincidence, but it's a very, very funny coincidence. We are trying to get that noise canceling devices approved in the USA. It's been working very well in many other countries. We are working also maybe in having 5 judges instead of 3. And it's a 10-point no system, but 96% of the rounds are scored 10-9.
Right.
So what happens with the rest of the 9 points?
Right. Because I've seen fights where the ref has taken a point away from a boxer, and it's still 10-9. I was like, wait a minute, how the hell did it end up being 10-9 if he got a point taken away?
Yes, but that's only mathematics,
right?
Because the supervisor is the one who adds and subtracts.
Mm.
So when there's a deduction, that is done at the table, not by the judge.
Okay.
But we are trying to find the problem is when the boxing jurisdictions do not work together.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a good system, but if you go to X state or X country and they do not allow you to use that system,
right,
or they do not allow you to appoint the officials and they appoint their own official,
mm-hmm.
then it's out of your hands.
Right. And I'm sure that's quite frustrating.
It is very frustrating, but we're working. It's going to take time, but I'm sure that the scoring system, right now in Washington, we are for the NADF convention,
mm-hmm.
and we brought in 12 officials.
Okay.
That will be meeting for 3 days specifically to try to find a new structure on judging, because it is a fact. You see a great close fight, and then you hear the score 100-90.
Right.
As a fan, you get disgusted.
Right.
Even though the right guy won,
mm-hmm.
You just get so upset to see the bad score so wide,
yeah.
or one judge going 8 points for one and the other judge going 8 points for the other. How can you explain that?
Right. No, I completely agree with you. You know, you'll sit there and you're like, wait a minute, where did that number come from when clearly this guy won rounds 5, 6, and 7, and it should have been far closer. Yeah. Yeah. Mauricio, in the partnership that you're doing right now with Beyond Sport United, are you guys also working with the other sports and the other individuals? Like, I know WWE is involved, which is sports entertainment, but you also have the NHL and NBA and NFL being a part of it. Are you guys also working with those other sports to help push athletics? Yes,
of course. It's a great point. I admire all sports. I'm a big sports fan, and that's when I see a problem in boxing, I relate to what a fan feels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really hopeful to get good agreements. I have met with Major League Baseball. I have met with some people in the NFL. Beyond Sports just opened up a great way of sitting down in a table with all the leagues, and we share many things. And if we put them together to work,
mm-hmm.
it will make a difference.
Right.
We all have social responsibility programs. We all have a sport is a way of having kids grow healthier. You battle against diseases, obesity.
Uh-huh.
Doing sports keeps you out of the streets, keeps out of the drugs and crime. So there are so many things that the sports do, and working together with the other leagues is one of my top priorities.
Right. That's fantastic. Because when I first heard that the leagues are going to start working together, I know that there's competition for advertising dollars. And each one has revenue from somebody else, whether it's Bud Light, Budweiser, Nike, Reebok, Adidas, Everlast, whichever. And there's always competition, to try to get those dollars. So when wondering how it would work because of all these corporations involved, it seems like that it's going to work no matter what, because they care about the future of the sport with the kids involved.
Right. When the economics come, that's when things get complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But for the WBC or boxing, in fact, it's a very different scenario. Boxing is the only sport in which the league, which would be like the WBC is the league,
uh-huh.
does not control or have anything to do with the business aspect of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
We only regulate the competition.
Right.
The business is conducted by the promoters, which are independent companies.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a big difference. The UFC, NFL, Major League Baseball, they control the TV rights.
Mm-hmm.
They sell the franchises. They have everything to do with sponsorship, advertisement. In this case, the WBC or any boxing entity has nothing to do with the commercial side. We do work very much outside the ring. We help promoters get sponsors. We help promoters get events going all around the world. But that's a thing that gives us moral authority with governments, with enterprises, with sponsors, even with the promoters. But I think the unity among boxing, sports leagues is very, very important. And Beyond Sports truly emphasizes and gives opportunity to understand what can be done together.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that. Mauricio, what's next with with WBC, and we can expect from the sport of boxing and the governing organization that will sit there and make the fans that left the sport come home?
Okay, we need to work to get the best fights take place. We need to have the promoters work together to make those fights happen. The fans deserve to see the fights they want to see. Boxing, there are so many options for a promoter to do a title fight.
Right.
Because there will always be any organization, any TV that will want to say it's a world title.
Right.
I had proposed with IBF, WBA, WBO, let's do a champions tournament and let's find one champion.
Right.
And only one boxer be called world champion. It's that would be the perfect world. It could take many years. I hope it eventually happens. But what we can do is only what the WBC can control.
Right.
And we're trying to have the best fights happen, take place, have flexibility, adjust the rules so they take place, and just mediate with promoters and TV corporations.
Right.
We're going to have in Los Angeles the flyweight champion against the super flyweight champion. Chocolatito against Cuadras.
And that's going to be K2 at the Forum.
K2 at the Forum. Both are undefeated. Both are world champions. It's going to be a tremendous fight. The same night in England, Golovkin against Brook. Both undefeated, both champions. So if you see that card, right, it's just a dream match. It's a dream television program because it's 4 fighters, 4 champions, 4 undefeated.